Hello everyone, so this is the new Raspberry Pi that I got not too long ago. It is a Raspberry Pi 3 Model B, and I'm putting RetroPie on here so that it will play many classic games. So I'm just going to go over the various parts of this. So these are the USB inputs right here, and it also has a place to plug in a networking cable. So currently I have plugged in my USB mouse and keyboard. They just plug in like that right there. There's also a place for headphones or speakers is right here. Just plug it in right there. As for the power, I just got a regular cable for like a tablet or a cell phone, a regular micro USB cable. This actually takes a micro SD for the storage. First time I got just a regular SD. This will not work with the Raspberry Pi 3. This used to work with the older versions of the Raspberry Pi, but no longer with the Raspberry Pi 3. So the nice thing about this one, it actually came with like this little caddy. It looks like a regular SD card. So you can basically pop in. This is the micro SD card right here. 32 gigabytes right there. And it just slides in and out on the back side. But the nice thing is you can actually pop this micro into this caddy right here. It just slides in right there, pop it in. Then you can put this in a regular SD card reader. So this is the SD card reader that I've had for a while. It plugs into a regular USB port, and it's got many various different types of plug-ins. You got your SD card right there. Actually, you can put a micro SD directly in there, and also other USB ports up here. And your HDMI display just plugs in right here on the side, right here, right next to the audio port, headphone port. Just snap it in like that. So I'm going to plug this guy in right here. It's just going to plug in through the top. And this little red light's going to start flashing right here. You can see it coming up on the screen. RetroPie, I already have the image installed and everything. I'll go over that in a minute. But yeah, it works pretty well. It boots up automatically. It's got this emulation station software installed that automatically finds your ROMs and already has emulators installed for you to use. You've got these various systems that automatically detects which ROMs and which systems you have installed. So I'm just going to pick the good old NES. Then you just go down and find which game you want to play. It does have some code in there to like try to download the box art, but it takes a really long time, and it just does a best guess of what game you have installed. Let's pick good old Legend of Zelda. Yeah, so there we go, Legend of Zelda. So right now I just have the keyboard controls right now, so I'm playing with the keyboard. I do have the parts for joystick and buttons. You do have to map your buttons in the configuration of this emulator. But yeah, there we go, Legend of Zelda right there, running on the RetroPie, Raspberry Pi 3. Yeah, so I'm just going to go over the software that I used for the RetroPie. You can go to retropie.org.uk and click on Downloads. You can scroll down, and I'm using the Raspberry Pi 2/3. You can just click on that. That's going to bring up an image file that you can download. You're going to need to decompress this, so you're going to need something like Sigwin or min-GW if you're running Windows, or if you're running Linux, just decompress that directly and use gzip-d, then the image name. Then I run this program on Windows called Balena Etcher, so you can select your image file after it's been decompressed. It's called RetroPie and I'm using version 4.5-RPI 2_RPI3.img. So you just select that. Then you select your drive. So you're going to want to have your SD card reader plugged in. So I'm using my card reader. This actually lights up when you plug it in. But yeah, I didn't realize it, but I could plug in the micro SD directly in here, or you can use like the little SD card caddy and plug it into the SD card port. So yeah, you just want to find your micro SD right here, 32 gigs. Then you press continue, then flash it. So the next thing you'll want to do is put some games on there. There's a good document on the RetroPie site called, it's got the various steps that go into detail. But yeah, you want to transfer your ROMs. We've already formatted and everything. We'll want to enable SFTP on the RetroPie. So you'll need to do this. You'll boot into the RetroPie, and you'll just need to exit that and go to the command line. And yeah, you just run this raspi config, go and enable SSH. Want to log in as username Pi, then password Raspberry. So the next trick is finding out how to access your system. There's a few different ways to do this. Make sure your networking cable is plugged in to the Raspberry Pi first. I don't believe that the wireless works by default. That probably takes some additional work. But yeah, once you have it on the network, the way I do it, I just go to my local router settings, which is at http://192.168.11. Then I click on attached devices, and then I see it as a wired device in the list. It's called RetroPie, and you can get the IP address right there. It's 192.168.1.13. So you can actually copy that. You should be able to go in to a command prompt and type ping and the IP address, and it should return data. So the next thing you'll want to do is run an SFTP program such as FileZilla. I already got an entry set up for the Raspberry Pi 3. It connects through the SFTP protocol, and it's using that IP address as the host. And just be aware, if you run this again later, it could be possible that the IP changes, so you actually have to check every time. So you want to connect. So you want to log in with Pi and the admin user credentials. The first time you log into the RetroPie and you set up SFTP, the SFTP server, you can type PASSWD and change the default password, which is good practice. So once you have it up, you should be able to browse your RetroPie, the file system. So you just go to RetroPie and ROMs. Then it's got folders for all the different systems. So like if you got NES ROMs, just drop them in the NES folder. If you got SNES, just go to the SNES folder and drop in your zip files there. Yeah, so that's the basics for setting up a Raspberry Pi 3 with RetroPie to play classic games. Plan on making a new video in the future showing actually how to wire up the joysticks and buttons to this, so you'll actually have a physical input to this. So thanks everyone for watching.